Shalom, everybody. This is Isaac Joseph, the Benjamin Bedouin, MYDYR, held hostage by the Southern Baptist Convention, attempted to kidnap me many times, try to lure me into entrapment operations. Let me tell you something about not just the Southern Baptists, but a lot of the other church leaders of denominations. But I have to use the Southern Baptist Convention because they're the best example and they're the most clear-cut example about how they use the government to protect their own selves. Well, number one, they put up their frontmen, Jack Graham, Robert Jeffries, Speaker Mike Johnson in the House. Then they're positioning now that Senator Cornyn is not going to be a senator after he lost the Republican senatorial primary to current Attorney General Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton's a Southern Baptist. They're positioning him to get in there. There's a lot of other Southern Baptists. Rick Warren was actually, for what I can understand it, worked with Obama when they were doing the Chrislam thing. He's the one who began that trash. Integrating Christianity and Islam, you cannot do it and be right with the gospel of Yahushua Messiah. And so I am the biggest exposer of Southern Baptists you're going to find. It is my calling. I must do it. I know witchcraft is going to come against me, but I don't worry about that. A lot of you need to be encouraged. A lot of you say, I'm targeted, I'm oppressed, I'm tracked, I'm harassed. You might be. But if you shut your mouth, I'm going to send you a warning. If you shut your mouth, they're going to pull you into what you don't want to be involved in, because the one who doesn't speak and remains silent consents to it all the more. And so I haven't seen anything on live chat yet, but hopefully somebody will begin to join us. And so back to Southern Baptist. See, the reason why Tom Rayner is an independent contractor for the NSA, I really believe the Ruach HaKodesh is speaking to me on this matter, trying to communicate to you. May not even specifically know who these people are, but Tom Rayner is Thom Rayner, Rainer. I knew him from way back in the days of Louisville, Kentucky in the mid-90s. He's been there like almost forever. And so the reason why he can be an independent contractor for the NSA and write all these fantastic books on demographics and why people aren't going to church and how can we better reach them with the gospel using statistical methods and inferences and scientific methods that Christ, Yahushua Messiah, did not ever command us to do. He did not ever command us to use the wisdom of the world to promote the gospel. He don't care about your education. It doesn't matter to him. Throw your education out the window with Yahushua. I did. I gave up my PhD in accounting to receive the scorn of the world, to follow Yahushua, and it doesn't always feel good. In fact, it rarely ever feels good. All right? Some of you come on, get on here. Father, we just pray that more will come onto this live stream that I hope will end up on my YouTube, Isaac Joseph, through this laptop. You see, the last time we were here in the Three River City, about towards November, we started hearing gunshots across the Allegheny River from the entertainment district. You wait. I hear you. I see you. We started hearing gunshots, and all of a sudden, this lady named Karen Brewer started getting into our lives, trying to pretend like to be a believer. Before you know it, more gunshots were being fired across the Alleghenies. She was starting to get in contact with us. Before you know it, there she was, safely taking us out of town to get away from it and to be involved in a vehicular homicide attempt. Our bikes get smashed. We get new bikes, and then those bikes get stolen in Syracuse. And after Syracuse, she says nasty things in an email to Dawid. And before you know it, she's never in contact with us again. Directly. She didn't communicate directly. But these people are such narcissists, they can't resist. Because the FBI and the CIA and all these NSA will continue to pay these people sums of money you wouldn't believe. They love that money. They love to get what they want, but they're perishing inwardly. They're becoming colder and emptier. And before you know it, they're given the ultimatum. Sanchez, Brewer, Robert Barnes, aka Brian Wilbur, they're all given the ultimatum, you better finish the job. You know, these people come to a crossroads, and before you know it, they're either going to get us put away, dead, in jail for like this, make national headlines for a felony they want to frame me as having committed. They got to do that or their own life is gone. This is how targeting and gang stalking is actually done. And I'm a big money target. I am big money. I'm big money, and the Southern Baptist Convention will use the government through information technology and internet security professionals in state conventions and in the National Convention office in Nashville. Those people in that office hack my little cheap phone. Many laptops have been fried. Many phones have been fried remotely. And then the one good laptop I had that had Linux in it was stolen by hand in Syracuse, and it was hired, you know, like in Act 17, hired sons of Belials, hired. They're hired, you know, scoundrels. It says in many of your versions. Dawid and I got ransacked. I'm gonna get him on in a moment. Don't worry. He'll tell you just a little bit more. They're back again. I don't mind telling them where I'm at because it's bait. It's Yahuwah's bait. It could be their final destruction. You can only pray if there's any use praying that they would quit and repent and turn and get out of the program and quit playing this. But the convention's near destruction itself. And that goes back to why I said the convention uses the government to shield itself. It'll you know, and the internet security, you know, network professionals through the state conventions and the National Convention office in Nashville, they all have anybody that they have a list of from the pastors who are asking too many questions about Freemasonry. They're asking too many questions about the 700 sex cases that came out in June 2022, that there are many more, I can tell you, millions more. And I have outed the information. I had a hunch and had a clue and even knew that a lot of leaders are never going to get nailed for any crimes they've committed because they've signed legacy contracts. And so legal agreements would mean that their names could never be revealed no matter what they did. Some of the biggest names you'll ever find have done worse than just rape, have done just much worse. The only way your legacy contract can be negated legally is if you're like Paige Patterson and you just go way out there, like this 80-year-old man going for 14-year-old girls. That's what Paige Patterson did. And that's also what Paul Pressler did, the other founder of the 1977 so-called conservative resurgence. A lot of the other ones, almost all the big names among the 1977 resurgence, including Charles Stanley, they all died. They all died disgracefully too. And so the Southern Baptist internet security professionals, the security from the state conventions and the National Convention office in Nashville are going to continue to track me on Substack, track me on YouTube, track me on BitChute and Rumble. They're going to continue to hack. They're going to continue to send bots who will slander me. We already have one bot that gets on my old YouTube channel I cannot access anymore, Isaac Joseph, the Benjamin Bedouin. And they turn around, the same guy says the reason I got my Agent Orange injuries, he said that came from drug use. I talked to homeless people that came from drug use. Although I suspect that's Aldo Menendez and his wife, Carol. I'll out them from Seal Beach, California, because truth is the Southern Baptists throw much people at me, many people. They have no conscience. They'll do whatever it takes to slam me shut. Because at this point, if they were to try to if they just directly just killed me or did a false flag, nobody should believe it. I have a Master of Divinity from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky from 2002. I actually finished my courses in January 2002, but I had to hold over a semester. I started in 1996, took a break in parts of 1997 because my vision problems are getting so bad, and I was wondering, why do I have all this bad health? Anyway, it seems like the professors over there were always mad at me because a lot of them are in the Freemasons. They get the intel. They're told things about me by the government. A lot of the professors are already skull and bones. I can tell you, Rob Plummer, Greek professor, is in skull and bones. I can tell you who's in skull and bones. I don't have to know anything else. I just know what these people are doing. They're all, a lot of like Tom Schreiner, he's in skull and bones, Greek professor, Most High Thomas Schreiner. But so they're going to continue to use the NSA, the FBI, the CIA even. They're going to send people. They're going to continue to try to disrupt what I'm doing. And they've been able to largely disrupt because they use your health against you. It doesn't matter if I know this lady in Maryland right now who got a good YouTube channel. Her husband has a big old tumor supposedly on his face. Her niece is in the hospital fighting for her life. Her sons have been attacked by vehicles, gotten in accidents in other ways. It's like, pray for her. I'm not going to name her by name, but what worse can happen to somebody like that who's also trying to expose the Vatican, Freemasons, all the other things? She also used to be in the Southern Baptist Convention. She'd probably like me not to share her name. I'm not sure, but I'm going to tell you something. If this gets to YouTube from here, a lot of you will know who she is. You can pray for her. All I can tell you is they use the government to protect themselves. They like to end. Here's an example, and you can, to the other departments, you can gather the rest. The NSA pays the Southern Baptist Convention a large sum of money and pays individual contractors like Tom Rayner. They turn around. Tom Rayner does the survey information and all this stuff, and you think he's writing a book, and you think it's good for the church or whatever. What's happening is that information is getting funneled back to the NSA. The NSA will give them money for as a reward, kind of like a contract reward for passing on the information, and no harm, right? That's just the government, right? They're going to do nothing with it. It'll go to Facebook. It'll go to all these social media platforms. And all the while, the internet security professionals, aka the hackers, and the censorers. A lot of you wonder why some of your comments get erased on YouTube and don't get posted, and even from the authors of those posts. It's because hackers like that are going in here and getting and automating to get certain comments out of there. They know the lines of code to do it, and these Southern Baptist security professionals make big money. They make about as big a money as the pastors, and maybe even more so in some cases. So the NSA will give them a contract check, and it'll give the convention's tech department a certain amount of the money allocated. They'll make sure that the individuals, contractors, get paid their checks. They're going to have to file, they're going to have to file in like a 990 or something. They're going to have to file I forgot the form, but the independent contractor form, the self-employed form, because a lot of them already are ordained as ministers, and they're going to have to pay tax on their Social Security. But nonetheless, I'm telling you, they will do anything. They'll use the government to protect themselves. And Robert Jeffers, Jack Graham, I can guarantee you, they've been on Epstein Island. Don't tell me they haven't. A lot of other Southern Baptist prominent leaders have been to Epstein Island, I even believe. And I'm going to get him on here in a moment. Speaker Johnson's been there. I bet you Rick Warren's maybe or maybe not been there. Anybody who pushes the Zionism, dead set guarantee they've been there. And now you got these sex cases that came out in June 2022. I've been slamming against it for 2 or 3 years prior to that. They did multiple false flag attacks on me. They used the police. They used the military. They used everything to take on one guy, 2 dudes who just want to preach the gospel and tell the truth. But you know what? They never let you go. They never let you go because if they can shut you up, they can get you into the operations. And I'll tell you what, we walked away from the false flag operation in upstate New York that was connected to the Karen Brewer case. We walked out of there in the deep cold. We're not going to stay there once we start figuring out what this whole thing was. It was full of violence. Younger women, and maybe even teenage girls were going in and out there. We don't fall for that. We don't go for that. You're not going to go for that. I need to find out how to get you on here. Here we go. I'll get you on here in a moment. Okay, you're going to get in that. Don't be too, hopefully this is going to get you to join. I don't know how to fade away, but you be looking for it. He can talk about his testimony being in the Baptist also. Are you joining? Should come in there.
Mm-hmm.
I could do better things with this, but the gunshots fired across the Allegheny from Karen Brewer was a pretty masterful way of dividing the precious town where a lot of precious believers are.
Yep.
I don't know how to silence myself. Okay, I know it's the audio. Camera. Well, just try speaking. I'll hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead. You heard what I said. Shoot.
My short-term memory just glitched. What were we talking about directly?
How the Southern Baptist Convention uses the FBI and information technology and hacking and to protect their reputation and to protect their own selves.
How that many of the churches they use their churches as fronts for fight clubs and training of spies and assassins, principally children.
Speak a little louder.
Ages of 12 and much younger. They couldn't get 100% access to me before 12 years old, but they did get access to me nonetheless. Pretty much every church we ever went to was Baptist, and whether it was fundamental independent King James only or Southern Baptist King James only or something to that effect.
Doesn't matter.
It's all a cult. Every denomination and church was involved with my programming. The programming they tried to put in me. Trump had his eyes on me. Many other politicians had their eyes on me because they saw me as an asset for their trafficking operation or personal trafficking operation. And I was one of the best fighters they had seen, but church is one of the biggest trafficking rackets the government has. They're never separate, and they've never been separate. The church is unequivocally the religious arm of Mystery Babylon.
And right there, I want to say something because I was born in 1964 in France, and through my dad's military service, and came born in Rouen, France, Seine River region, and came to the United States in 1966. And I sure am able to tell you, we don't have much longer on this. 15 minutes ago, we'll be done with it. And came here, and I can remember being in the homes. Many of them were Southern Baptist league elders, things like this. And like I'd be sleeping over at the house from high school students that their parents were in the CIA and the FBI, and I don't remember what the heck happened during any of that time. But I do know that one of the things about Great Hills Baptist Church and former founding pastor Harold E. Chester was that before they made the move in the like the early 1990s, they had away from my neighborhood growing up in Austin, Texas. It was first the Allendale Baptist Church under Harold E. Chester when I was a young child, and then I was in close to my 30s, mid 20s, and before you know it, he's out of that neighborhood, and they found Great Hills Baptist Church, and now there's a website called Stop Baptist Predators, who has a lot of stuff on Great Hills Baptist Church. Michael Lewis was a pastor after him, and other pastors and other members and other elders. And so what I can certainly tell you is a lot of them in the CIA and the FBI become prominent elders, even pastors you don't even know. But I want him to continue to finish because this is my last time. This is my last 15 minutes on here. So finish commenting talk about the fight clubs and all the things that got him involved in. And so and the traffic he was under. So finish, stay related to the topic, and tell us the rest of this in about 12 minutes.
Okay, so the pastors and elders were heavily involved with it. But little my parents were involved, they didn't remember it because they had programming that they would activate to cause them to forget or to drug them or use technological means to wipe their memory, as well as us as children. Also bring this in because it's very important to understand to have a business to buy, sell, and trade on the market. You have to have a handler, usually the bookkeeper. My dad's bookkeeper was also a very important factor in the trafficking and experimentation the government did on me. He was directly tied to President Bush Jr., to be more precise. And I was trafficked all the way up to at least around England. How and when they did it, I don't always remember perfectly clear, but I know that they have their hands in it. I do have quote unquote royal blood blood for entertainment, all this stuff that, in my bloodline through rape. A lot of us were mixed breeds, not breeds, because we're all humankind, are the same blood, and technically the same ethnicity in that regards. So the church, as I said, is the religious arm of mystery Babylon. The state is their secular enforcement of their system, and they don't care how old you are. If they know, especially if they know you have royal blood, military blood, entertainment, and prophetic giftings, they're going to target you so that they can take control of them or shut you down completely, so that you don't expose them.
That's where I'm going to say something. I don't have what they call royal blood in me. Probably not. I think a lot of mine came from being a military slave. Even if my dad's it was my dad's adopted family, and he never knew his real family. It was a long line of military slaves. I'll go all the way back just barely after the Civil War ended. And as far as they don't care how old you are, well, the same pastor of High Point Baptist Church, Austin, Texas, that's there today, was the one starting in the early 90s. He entered seminary where I went in 1998. 4 years before then, I believe he took a Navy bet just that he could get me to willingly be sodomized, and I'd submit.
Oh,
hold on. And I would submit, and because I preached so hard against it. As many do and fail to resist the offers. But the thing is, they don't care, because now I'm 62 years old, and it was only like 10 years ago when he began the attack. He took the attack against me that I never knew was going on in secret to a new level. They would lure me into his church, and he was going to finish the job. And I can tell you, they never stopped trying to brew up things to try to discredit your ministry, to prove to you and to prove to others you need them. You got to be with them. You got to come under the authority of the New Testament church that they have. And I can tell you, they don't have good plans for you. They want to make money off of you. They want to get rich off of you, and that's all. I want you to finish in 3 minutes.
Okay. So this may sound benign and non-related, but I remember one time when I was going to First Baptist of McDonald, Ohio. First Baptist Church of McDonald, Ohio. I was talking to some of the teens. I was a little older than some of them. And I was talking about how I wanted to be ambidextrous, And they started laughing and mocking and said, "Oh, you'll become crazy, It didn't click for me until recently that if you have both lobes of your brain, including also your frontal lobe, operating correctly, your memory starts to flow correctly, and you're able to synchronize what happened to you as a child. And it starts to become more clear. You're able to process it and flush it from your system more effectively, because you have both your creativity and your critical thinking in sync. Now, when they had tried to kill me, they shot the back of my head off practically and ran me over the truck. When I started to come, when my body started to try to heal itself at that time, they put plates in my head, and implants to prevent certain healing processes. My body started to seize up. And so they severed that link between the two lobes. For the longest time, I couldn't synchronize my thoughts in any way. Now that it's begun to heal, the plates are coming out. I can feel them moving around in the back of my head. And the technology's coming out with these little, you can see the little, what do they call it? Scabs and stuff.
Yeah, I see it. Can't see it. Don't worry about it.
It'll come out in the blood, and then the blood will flush it out. It's part of how spiritual deliverance takes place. People think that demons are just etherical. Yeah, they're interdimensional, but they have a physical aspect to them, and it's parasites and technology. And people hear their voices in their head. It's not always voices spoken directly. Sometimes it's digital or cybernetic connections and injections and implants that are working through the nervous system.
Round it up and wrap it up. I'm going to say something in this.
And it's all inevitably there's religious aspects involved. Factions of the government are all religious. Atheism is even a religion. All religions are involved with this technology and technocracy. That's what I learned by being in their programs like that. And I was homeschooled 8 out of 12 years. However, that 4 years that they had me in a private church school was all they needed to almost wreck my life.
Yeah, and in Hyde Park Baptist, Christian school in Austin, Texas, ain't no better. One friend of mine who I played football with in high school, he smoked a lot of pot after he got done with his college days. Sadly, he died in 2011, left a wife and a child behind. And then when in the mid-90s, even back then when I was finishing up, I was already a late bloomer at UT Austin, but nonetheless, I played basketball. I was a member of that church, and I played basketball in the gym. And suffice it to say, kids, and there were no better. They boasted about fornication and all that. But what I want to say is, Christian schools are no safer than putting them in a public school. You might as well just take them out of the frying pan into the fire. Your only hope is to homeschool them. And I know some states like Washington State and Oregon do not allow it, but you know what? You don't obey those laws. You tell them to take a hike or get out of the state and escape it.
Let's think about schooling, though. This is important to understand.
Real quick, I want to end this.
When you're training your children at school, at home, highly advised to stay away from dogmatic curricular books. Get them the basic writing arithmetic, and don't follow their plans. Follow the plan. Follow the system. Just follow the Ruach HaKodesh. Follow the Holy Spirit.
Right.
He's the best teacher. He's the only true teacher. So let him lead you to the books you need for research on them, for their help, and let them work their own hands and learn to mind their own business in that manner. You don't want to program them to enter the system. You want to program them against it so that they can stand outside the system to preach the good news of the true gospel.
And that also goes for Sunday school programs. They're all tools of indoctrination. They're only meant as a tool of retention into the church so they can continue to get you tithe money. It's all based on money. Lifeway has had a lousy education program in the Southern Baptist Convention, and I can tell you that kids in there are no better either. When I was in high school, as older than I knew I really was, I was mistreated. I was mistreated in a household. I was invited for after church to go, but I wasn't in their special De Malay club, so I couldn't take a photo. I took one photo here with them, and then they took the other photos. And so it doesn't matter. I mean, You can put them in Sunday school. You can put them in the Christian school. You can put them in the public school. It's all indoctrination, and it's not meant for anything but to retain you and to keep you. And that's why after I tried to leave that High Point Baptist Church for a month and a half, and I finally had to leave Texas in 2018 to get away from him, he never stopped tracking me. He did certain things to continue. He still continues today. He sends people today. They do all the evil that they want to because they've got immunity. They use my past mental health record as immunity. That pastor still tells people I'm his pastor and I have legal authority over him. Not after you trespassed me from your church for preaching in front of it in 2020. That ended that. But he still believes it. The average pastor is a Luciferian Freemason. He doesn't. He's a split apart, torn apart. He's dissected in so many pieces he can't even tell what he done half the time. And I can tell you that these pastors, Christ even said it, hypocrite will be cut to and cast into hell. They'll be scattered in many pieces. That's why if you're in these churches, you need to get out. Many of you are held to silence, and I'm extended by 15 minutes, so I will go on. You are held in silence. You are held under contempt by your pastor. You're told not to go out and street preach because we have authority over you, not to go travel and preach, not to go do anything apart from the program that the church offers you. You can't go take your tithe money to help the poor with your own expenses, like did the women who ministered to Yahushua Messiah when he walked the earth as a man, and very much Yah. And so you're not allowed, all the tithe money must go to them. So the program's about money, reputation, power, control, and it's very territorial and it's very even colonialistic.
Does it sound like it's raining too?
I don't. No, look outside.
I did ring. It's raining.
Yeah,
That's all right. It's not sure.
You can tell me later. But the thing about it is, if you go do your own ministry, you got to have permission from the church to do it. They're going to oftentimes tell you, no, you can't do that. Or how can they get their filthy hands into it in order to control it? Because they're running operations that are designed where if you were to do such a thing and they could get their hands on it, they can control some of that and even use that to access teenagers, children, even autistic adults. And the most disgusting thing churches do, and the government doesn't mind it, is to take autistic adults and children and use them for evil purposes. They do not know better. And that's what infuriates me the most. That's what I noticed in 2018 at High Point Baptist Church. They were using autistic children to try to make me feel bad about myself and make me think I'm doing something wrong. Well, you are supposed to listen to a child, but I didn't mistreat that child. I said, I just don't think you're understanding what you're saying to me. And that's how I could tell they were being manipulated. This is Isaac Joseph, the Bedouin. This is Dawid, Whitestone on my Substack. Hopefully this goes to YouTube. I wanted to end this before 40 minutes, and I want you to think about when you go to these churches, what are you really getting involved in, and whether or not you should come out of her. I will add this because I need to. I've talked to people whose pastors try to force them to take the vax. I've had pastors, other people say they encounter pastors who are trying to, a lot of ladies hit on them or mistreat them or try to invite them to be alone with them or something apart from their husbands, or if they're single, just to be alone with them. That's what happened at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary with that other professor who got fired. And that wasn't Paige Patterson. That was another man. And I tell you, They only can hide it so long until they're forced to come out with the truth and take an overt action, and they'll just reassign them. They'll reassign them and give another position and make it look like they got punished and they actually got a better salary. They actually got a better position. They got a better reward for their sin. And so you got to think about whether or not this church thing is worth it anymore. If you're not free to go do the ministry you've been called to do by Yah, under the power of Yahushua Messiah, by the Ruach HaKodesh, if you're being held back, start acting on it and start praying about it and ask for deliverance from Yahuwah, the Father of lights, in whom there is no variation nor shadow of turning. I just barely over 40 minutes, so I'm going to end it. Signing out. Shalom.